You don't struggle to understand because you're not smart enough. You struggle because of how you're reading. You read a page, then another, and another. But when you stop, you realize you don't actually understand what you just read. Maybe you just finished a chapter on quantum physics, and all you remember are the words, not the concepts. Or you read a news article about the economy, and you can't explain the main points to a friend. Perhaps you've just scrolled through a long social media post only to forget the core message moments later. It's that frustrating feeling when you've spent hours with a textbook only to draw a blank when someone asks you what you've learned. So you go back. You reread the same lines again, trying to force it to make sense, but it still doesn't stay. And eventually you think, why can't I understand anything? Because reading is not the same as understanding. Reading is passive. Understanding is active. When you read, your eyes move across the words. But your brain doesn't automatically process meaning. It only processes what it's forced to engage with. So if you're just moving forward, your brain stays in passive mode. Think of it like watching a movie while doing laundry. You see the images, you hear the sounds, but the plot details blur. Or listening to a podcast while driving a familiar route. You might catch a few phrases, but the deeper arguments are lost. Your brain is simply observing, not actively constructing knowledge. It's like a camera recording footage without a director. Physicist Richard Feynman was known for a simple idea. If you want to understand something, try explaining it in simple terms. Here's what's actually happening. You're recognizing the words, not processing the ideas. And recognition feels like understanding, because it's familiar. But when you try to explain it or recall it, there's nothing there, because your brain never had to work for it. Think about trying to recall details from a movie you watched while scrolling on your phone. You saw the scenes, but did you truly process the plot, or trying to remember a recipe you just skimmed? Only to realize you missed a crucial step when you start cooking. It's like recognizing a face in a crowd, but not being able to recall their name or how you know them. The familiarity is there, but the deeper connection is missing. Your brain registers the surface-level information, but it doesn't build the neural pathways necessary for true comprehension. It's the difference between seeing a map and actually navigating the terrain. At Daily Reset Lab, this channel breaks down the hidden psychological patterns behind how you study, think, and perform under pressure. If this feels familiar, you'll want to understand this next. Why students forget everything after exams. Now let's go deeper. Understanding happens when your brain struggles, when it tries to connect ideas, when it tries to explain. But if you remove that effort, you remove the understanding. That's why rereading doesn't work, because it removes effort. And effort is what creates meaning. Consider learning to ride a bike. You don't just read instructions. You fall, you wobble, you push through the discomfort. That struggle, that effort is what wires your brain to balance and pedal. Similarly, when you learn a new language, simply reading vocabulary lists isn't enough. You need to actively try to speak, make mistakes, and correct them. The brain thrives on challenge. When you actively engage with information, questioning, connecting, and synthesizing, you're forcing your brain to build a robust mental model rather than just passively absorbing data. This effort is the engine of true learning. So the solution is not reading more, it's changing how you read. Instead of moving forward, pause. Ask yourself, what did I just read? Try to explain it in your own words, even if it's incomplete, even if it's messy, because that effort is what builds understanding. You can make this simple. Read a small section, then stop and explain it out loud, or write it down without looking. For example, after reading a paragraph about historical events. Try to summarize it in your own words without looking back at the text. Or if you're learning a new concept in science, try to teach it to an imaginary student. If you're reading a complex legal document, try to rephrase each paragraph in plain English. Or if it's a technical manual, try to visualize the steps and explain them to yourself as if you were performing the task. Another powerful technique is to create a mind map or diagram of the concepts you've just read, forcing you to see the relationships between different ideas. These active strategies transform you from a passive recipient of information into an active constructor of knowledge. That's how you turn reading into understanding. So the next time you feel like you don't understand anything, don't assume something is wrong with you. Nothing is broken. You've just been reading passively instead of thinking actively. Subscribe to Daily Reset Lab for more perspective like this. And if you want to understand what happens when information doesn't stay, watch Why Students Forget Everything After Exams.